Professor Peter Kreeft once said, "In an age of hope, men looked out at the night sky and saw the heavens. In an age of hopelessness, they called it simply space. What do you see when you gaze upon the sky?" As winter unfolds its icy embrace, our attention turns to the mesmerizing northern lights, a celestial spectacle with fascinating myths and legends across cultures. In this episode, we shall look at some of the stories behind this natural wonder. In the enchanting landscapes of Scotland, it was the Cailleach who gently laid the first blanket of snow upon the land. To mark the matter of awe, she scouted the landscapes and breathed lives into tribes and birthed the entire pantheon of the region. Among them were the Fir-Chlis, the northern lights, and gracefully dominated the winter sky. Also recognized as the Nimbermen, the northern streamers, or the Merry Dancers, as the Shetlanders fondly call them. The name described the shimmering, vibrating, and quivering motions of the phenomenon. These ethereal beings were split into two clans, one draped in garments of white, and the other adorned in pale yellow. The ladies of both clans wore an array of brighter colors, some in green, some in red, and a selected few in royal purple. On a serene winter night, a Nimberman and merry maidens gather for a celestial celebration in honor of the Great Mother, the Cailleach, accompanied by the fairy pipers who play the most enchanting melodies. They engage in elegant dances, creating a magical spectacle across the northern sky. Yet, like many tales, there's often a tragic love story involved. In this instance, the two princes of the clans and the beautiful merry maiden. It is said that Lightfoot, a prince of the White clan, found his heart captivated by Princess Comtley, the fairest among the merry maidens. However, his affections faced competition from Green Eyes, the chief of the Yellow clan. Despite the rivalry, Princess Comtley favored Lightfoot as a dance partner, for his skill and grace surpassed all Nimbermen. One of these winter nights, Princess Comtley partnered with Lightfoot in a shimmering dance. As the music paused, Lightfoot kneeled before her, whispering, "Fairest of the fair, be my bride." Princess Comtley, in kind reply, "Your bride I shall be." Overhearing this exchange, Green Eyes was consumed with anger. He rallied his clan, sparking chaos as they confronted Lightfoot and his followers. The clash of swords echoed through the northern sky as the warriors engaged in a fierce battle. As Princess Comtley and the maidens fled in terror, people came out from their houses and gazed upon the celestial battle in wonder. Eventually, a red cloud formed below the Nimbermen, signifying the blood spilled in the battle, and drops of blood fell on the green mountain stones, forever marking them with red spots. Hence, the red speckled green stones came to be known as bloodstones or heliotrope. Natural phenomena were often used as signs of weather or to describe new inventions we did not yet have a vocabulary for. As mentioned in our previous episode, a whirlwind in summer is called a shiguihie, a fairy wind, attributing strong winds to the movement of the she or fairies. When the radio was first invented, boxer Fir-Chlis was used by Gaelic speakers, as in Fir-Chlis, the Northern Lights, dancing in the box, where sound and music came from. Such a poetic way to describe a scientific invention, don't you think? The Northern Lights go by various names across the British Isles. Other than the few I just mentioned, they were also called the Fighting Lasses and Pretty Dancers. Some were unsurprisingly linked to the fairies. In Suffolk, England, for example, they were known as the Perry Dancers, as Perrys among the names for the fairy folk in the region. In the post-Christian era, stories of the fae folks being the fallen angels started to come about. Not the defeated, but those who sat on the fence during the Great Rebellion. They were thrown out for their indecisiveness, and those who fell in the air became the Northern Lights. Both Evan Wynne and John Campbell wrote about a war between them. It was believed that the fairy host always engaged in the battle at Samhain, creating a colourful spectacle in the sky. The red liquid produced by the lichens after frost was described as the blood of the fairy fallen. And Campbell mentioned it formed the dark red hot stone found on the shores of the Hebrides, called Fir-Chlis, the elf blood. Woodside tells a fairy battle in his book British Goblins. Two fairy armies, one mounted on milk-white steeds and another a jet black, and fought on a mountain between Merthyr and Aberdare in Wales. They rode at each other with the utmost fury, and their swords could be seen flashing in the air like so many penknife blades. On March 6, 1716, Londoners were treated to a remarkable celestial display reported in a historical register newspaper. Initially resembling a static mass of light in the sky, it soon transformed into dynamic, fragmented pillar of flame, racing southeastward with vibrant undulating lights in green, red, blue and yellow. Sounded just like a vivid display of the Northern Lights, but observers' accounts varies. The phenomenon was seen around the country, and although gazed upon the same sky, the interpretation was not all the same. William Whiston recorded the event in his book with several observers' letters. Some saw an intense light display, but several people say they saw two supernatural armies fighting in the sky. From sword fights among the cavalry to firing of guns, where the smell of gunpowder filled the air. Or some claim to see two beings fighting with flaming swords and the smell of sulphur in the air. One can only assume if the similar happens in this day of age. Some of us might speculate an alien invasion. This event also gave another name to the Northern Lights. James Ratcliffe, and the young and popular 3rd Earl of Devonwater, was beheaded on Tower Hill for his part in the Jacobite uprising. As his coffin reached the outskirts of Durham City on the night of 6th of March, 1716, the skies were spectacularly lit up by a brilliant display of the Northern Lights. His supporters took this as an omen of heaven's wrath at the death of the Earl. The lights what afterwards known in the north of England as Lord Derwentwater's Light. Further north in Finland, the tale was less bloody. The myth in eastern and northern Finland tells the mythical fox Tulikettu, the firefox, who is every hunter's dream, for its coat are said to be able to illuminate the surroundings. This highly sought after magical property means whoever caught Tulikettu would achieve the fame and fortune of a lifetime. But no one could ever catch it, for the firefox is fast as the wind. As Tulikettu ran with incredible speed through the snowy landscape, its bushy tail brushed over trees and its fur scratched the snow, causing magical sparkles in the air. These sparks rose into the night sky, setting it ablaze with a beautiful display of lights in green, blue and pink, yellow and violet, creating the northern lights as we know. One can assume Tulikettu achieved some impressive knowledge, as the northern lights are visible on around 150 nights a year in Finnish Lapland. Northern lights is called Revontulet in Finland, meaning foxfires. The generalization of the name has taken place in a post-Christian era. Before that, they were referred to as Pohjolan portti, meaning Nordic gate or gates of the north, as mentioned in Kalevala. Finnish mythologists and folklorist Martti Havio wrote in his research on folklore or folk perception of the northern lights that the tale of Tulikettu, the firefox, and Grace Revontulet might be derived and influenced by Leviathan, the sea monster, who was said to shoot flames out of his mouth and nostrils when broke the surface of the water in the Book of Job of the Old Testament. Instead of the water creature, the identity changes to the more familiar fox in the Arctic Circle. Similarly, the influence of the Bible, as some believed it was the Archangel Michael who lit up the northern lights in his battle with Beelzebub. The firefox is not the only animal related to the northern lights. Danish legend tells of the swans entrapped in the ice or flying too far north. In the process of freeing themselves, the flapping of the wings created light in the sky. Some regions by the Gulf of Finland once attributed the light to the giant whales in the Arctic Ocean. Preserved documents from Narcus, Sweden and Norway show the name for the northern lights was once called Silblix, meaning herring flush, as they viewed the lights were reflections of the scales of herring swimming nearby, a sign of a good haul for the fishing community. Many cultures linked the northern lights to the souls of the departed. The Skål Sami, for example, believes the lights are caused by the blood dripping from those who were brutally murdered. The Sami will try remaining indoors when there's a massive display of northern lights, and no whistling, waving, or singing to avoid attracting the attention of the dead. Similarly, the Tlingit believe the warriors who die in violent, tragic death will take the form of the northern lights, and cautioning against staring at the sky for too long, for they might be taken away to join them across the night sky. The Cree view them as a communication channel between the living and the departed, manifested through the lights, It is said that when their dogs barked at the light, it means they recognize the soul of a long-lost companion. There are many Northern Lights tales among the indigenous in North America. One of my favorites is a story recorded by William Blackwell and told by Charlie Cook of Gunflint Lake. Long ago, according to Charlie's grandmother, one night during a full moon, the Anishinaabe people saw the lights in the sky. They saw people on top of the cliff standing and dressed in scarlet and many other colors of clothing. Some wore special types of hat. He referred to them as the sky people. The native people spent all night in their canoes and smoking their pipes, offering tobacco to the sky people. And for many nights after the sky people left the cliffs, the Northern Lights filled the sky. Later, the Anishinaabe began having dreams and were given songs and instructions. They made a large hand drum with drawings on it, and they built a log lodge. They dressed in similar clothing to the sky people and danced a different way than they do today. Many of these ceremonies stopped in the early 1960s. Did the sky people bring there by the Northern Lights, or did the Northern Lights come with the sky people? I don't think it matters, as both are equally magical. Today, we are familiar with the term Aurora Borealis, taken after Aurora, the Roman goddess of the dawns, and Boreas or Boreas, the Greek god of the north wind. However, it was neither the ancient Greeks nor Romans who gave us the name, but coined it by Galileo Galilei in 1619. Along with its cousin in the southern hemisphere, Aurora Borealis, the southern lights, we are gifted with a breathtaking natural phenomenon under the night sky. Just as the two are mirror images of each other, perhaps what we see when observing the spectacular light display reflects our state of mind at the time. Are there the mesmerizing fairy dancers, terrifying armies battling in the sky, or the magnificent beauty of nature? And when we saw the lights, believing they are the reflections from the shields of the Valkyries and carrying the fallen heroes to Valhalla, do we see that as an omen of death, or a magical, spectacular send-off for the brave? These stories are not just myths or metaphors influenced by the cultures and beliefs of those before us. They are stories of the psyche of a people, a record of the ever-changing world around us. And who is to say there's no truth in any of them?